The United States is a country that celebrates progress, shiny skyscrapers, booming tech hubs, and constant reinvention. But for every booming city, there are others that faded into shadows. Cities once full of promise that were forgotten, abandoned, or erased not by accident but by policy, by prejudice, and by profit. In this episode, we explore the buried stories of cities America tried to forget. From thriving black communities, destroyed by violence, to industrial towns, gutted by deindustrialization, to neighborhoods wiped out by highways and redevelopment. These aren't just stories about loss, they're stories about memory, justice, and how history chooses what gets preserved and what disappears. Let's begin in East St. Louis, Illinois. Once a booming industrial center, East St. Louis was a beacon of opportunity during the Great Migration. Black families from the Deep South came in search of jobs and safety. But by 1917, racial tensions exploded into one of the worst race riots in American history. Dozens, possibly hundreds of black residents were murdered in cold blood. Their homes were burned, and while the city was rebuilt, the trauma lingered. The jobs left, disinvestment followed, and so did a steady decline into poverty, crime, and neglect. Today, East St. Louis is often labeled one of the poorest cities in America. But what the headlines don't say is how it got their success, or who let it happen. Then there's Gary, Indiana. Born as a steel town for U.S. Steel, in 1906, Gary thrived for decades. It was a classic example of American industrial might, working class, diverse, and proud. But the 1970s and 80s brought a wave of plant closures and economic collapse. As manufacturing jobs moved overseas, Gary was left hollowed out. The city's population fell by over half. Entire neighborhoods became ghost towns. Schools closed. Murder spiked. But what was rarely asked: why was there no safety net? Why weren't cities like Gary worth saving? Let's talk about Paradise Valley in Detroit. This was once the cultural and economic heart of Black Detroit, filled with jazz clubs, shops, and strong community institutions. But in the name of urban renewal, it was targeted and destroyed. Highway I-375 was built right through the neighborhood. Homes were demolished, families displaced. And what was once a symbol of pride became another forgotten zone. The same story played out in New York's Seneca Village, in Chicago's Bronzeville, and Oklahoma's Greenwood District. Black neighborhoods seen as valuable only when the land could be taken. Just race, though, race played a central role. In places like Centralia, Pennsylvania, a coal mine fire started beneath the town in 1962 and still burns today. The town was gradually evacuated, its buildings razed, its zip code erased. The government said it was for safety, but many residents still believed their town was written off too quickly, especially when richer, more politically connected towns with similar issues got federal help. In California, entire communities vanished underwater. The towns of Monticello and Kennett were submerged during dam projects in the mid-20th century. Residents were relocated, cemeteries moved, and though some of these towns were small, their erasure speaks to a larger truth. In America, progress often means sacrifice, but not everyone gets to choose what is sacrificed. Redlining played a massive role in shaping what areas would thrive and which would be left to rot. From the 1930s to the late 1960s, federal housing policies denied loans to communities of color. That meant no new homes, no small business loans, no investment. Maps literally marked black and immigrant neighborhoods in red ink, hazardous areas to avoid. And the effects are still visible today. Go to any major American city and you'll see the line, the invisible border between prosperity and neglect. It's not coincidence, it's design. In New Orleans, the Claiborne Expressway destroyed a once thriving black neighborhood filled with Creole culture, mom and pop shops, and oak trees that shaded the median. Today, all that remains is concrete, traffic noise, and the memory of what was lost. So what do these stories mean today? They reveal how cities are not just shaped by markets and migration, but by choices, political, racial, and economic. They show how destruction can be slow and silent, how a city can vanish from the public imagination long before the last home is bulldozed. But they also offer hope. In some places, there are movements to reclaim history. Community activists in Tulsa, Oklahoma are restoring Greenwood's legacy. In Detroit, local historians are digitizing archives of lost neighborhoods. In places like Harlem, there's a renaissance of Black-owned businesses. People are saying our stories matter, our cities matter. And that's the point of uncovering hidden history. Not just to mourn what's gone, but to understand why it happened and how it can be prevented in the future. Because the next time a neighborhood is called blighted or unsafe, ask who said that and who stands to benefit from its destruction. America is full of cities it wants you to forget, but forgetting is a choice. And remembering telling the truth is resistance. If you like this episode, hit subscribe. There's more history buried beneath the surface. Let's dig it up together.